Hello, and welcome to the Christmas special of You Write, the podcast where creativity meets community.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Rachel.
Each week on You Write, we challenge our listeners to write a story in just 30 minutes using 3 of 5 randomly generated words.
It's a fun and fast-paced exercise to spark your imagination and get those creative juices flowing.
We'll read your submissions, offer feedback, and discuss the unique twists and turns of each story.
Whether you're an aspiring author or just love a good tale, You Write is your place to explore the endless possibilities of storytelling.
So grab you a lawnmower, situate yourself on a not freshly cut yard, and let's dive into this week's stories.
And remember, the only limit is your imagination and 30 minutes. Let's see what you got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, what's up?
I've been Christmas shopping.
Ah, yeah.
Christmas shopping, yes.
Are you done?
Almost.
Right on.
Very, very close.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I only have like 3 of the gifts in hand.
Okay.
But I actually ordered gifts. I know that it sounds like I'm behind, but in fact, compared to usual, I'm very, very on top of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they are in transit.
Oh, yeah.
Right
yeah.
on.
And your gift is also in transit.
Me?
Yeah, you.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet. Yours is actually in this room somewhere.
Oh my god.
But you can't.
I'm going to hunt
have
for it. If you go to the bathroom, I swear to God.
I'm not going to. I'm just going to hold it.
Okay.
I'm just going to hold it.
Okay. Well, I have a gift for you, your wife.
Okay.
And then I have a house gift, which also could be considered Otto's gift.
Okay.
Although I can't imagine him using it, but...
Do you think he could derive joy from it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if he gets a hold of it and destroys it, absolutely.
Okay.
He would have a great time.
It depends on what it is. But okay. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Have you planned your New Year's resolutions yet?
yeah, actually I have one already ready to go. And one of them, and the one that I have ready to go, is that I want to give tighter hugs.
Why?
Okay, so here's the thing. Let's be honest. I grew up as a WASP. And so for those of you that don't know what that means, it's redundant, but it's white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant. Okay? You knew this, right?
I don't know if I'd heard it so succinctly. Oh, but okay.
Yeah. I grew up as a WASP. Very kind of stoic.
Okay.
Very kind of puritanical. That's my dad's side.
Yeah, okay.
Not my mom's side.
Right, yeah.
No.
Yeah, that does not track on your mom's side.
No. But my dad moved us away from Georgia, I think because of his WASP ways and him wanting his waspness to thrive and flourish. And for his children to be WASPs.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, well, we definitely did hug each other like every night before bed, you know?
Uh-huh.
But we just aren't super touchy-feely.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Okay, so I was interacting with some Cubans randomly.
You just found some stray Cubans?
I did.
Okay.
I did. And I said to myself, hey, Seth, yeah, I'm going to go interact with them. And so I did. And one of them like hugged me, who I know him. And he was like, what are you doing? I gave him an A-frame hug because I also grew up in the church in a kind of a, not super strict, but a pretty strict church. Do you know what an A-frame hug is?
I have no idea. I've never even heard of that before.
Oh, wow. No, this was a term that we used. But it's where you like lean over. If it's a male and a female hugging, you lean over to where your shoulders are touching, but your chests aren't touching.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're like, make room for Jesus type of thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Or make room for the Holy Spirit or whatever. Yeah. And that was because, well, guys did, of course, try to grope you at any opportunity, but because it was so forbidden, I think that made it even more forbidden,
desirable,
food. Yeah, desirable, like tantalizing,
Yeah.
But in a culture like Cuba, they don't have that stigma or that like
taboo
type of thing. So, so I hug this one guy and I gave him an A-frame hug, totally subconsciously. I just did it. And he's like, what are you doing? Like, give me a real hug, like a Cuban hug. And then we did like a full-on hug. And I was like, I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
Like my whole life, I'm just going around being an asshole. And then also one of my students who's Jamaican, she came up and wanted to give me a hug. And I didn't even realize that I was doing it, but I did like a pretty weak A-frame hug, you know? It's almost like a weak handshake. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, just
which
like
sucks.
The limp, like
the limp,
just,
like ew, yeah, which I hate. Which
yeah.
I hate, but I realized that I was doing the hug version of that.
I love that there's a hug version of that, and yeah, it's the leave room for Jesus hug.
Yes,
yeah.
And I'm like, I'm over that because guess what? We only live once. We could die tomorrow. I want everybody to know. You know, and of course, I'm not saying I'm going to force myself on people who don't want to be hugged, but I'm just saying that the people who do come in for a hug, I'm going to give them a real hug.
Okay.
That was a very long explanation. I apologize.
No, it's, I appreciated the thoroughness
Thank you.
of it because, like I said, had never heard of an A-frame hug, although I can exactly picture it.
Yeah.
I would say we have, like, our family is similar.
Yeah.
In that we're not touchy-feely at all.
Right.
I guess by your definition, we are wasps as well, but I wouldn't say puritanical by any stretch. But yeah, we just don't talk about it. Whatever it is, we don't talk about it.
Right, yeah, that's a wasp thing.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, we're wasps. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, don't talk.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not touchy-feely, you don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Be a man. Like, grow up. Don't show emotions because that's...
Are you telling me what to do right now?
No. Not at all. I'm just describing part of the ethos of the wasp.
Yeah, and we uphold the ethos in our family.
Yes.
To this day. But not my sister and I. We tell each other everything.
Oh, yeah. Well, we uphold it in a way. We are self-aware, though. Me and my brother are self-aware. We're like, we've realized that we are trained wasps. We are well-trained wasps. We're a well-trained fleet of wasps.
Oh, that's terrifying to picture a fleet of well-trained wasps. That's nightmare fuel.
Right? That's like Hunger Games.
Actually, yeah, wasn't that in the Hunger Games? Yeah.
But I didn't mean to make that reference. Anyway, yep. So, do you have any New Year's resolution?
Basically just trying to be more healthy, like everybody else, I suppose. Beyond that, let me consider for a moment. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
We're getting a new kitchen sometime soon.
Yeah,
that's gonna be sick.
I'm excited to see that.
What's not gonna be sick is living through a remodel. That's not fun. We did that once, and it's stressful. But when it's done,
yeah, I'm so excited to see it.
Me too. I really am. So hey, did you see all our stories?
Oh, I did. Yes, I did.
Huzzah!
Huzzah! Oh.
Beautiful.
Yes, beautiful. Okay, yes, I did. And as usual, I enjoyed them immensely. So what story have we chosen to read today?
For this week, we chose to read Hate and Kerosene by Walker by Faith.
Yes, and I will be reading that one. All right, here we go. I'm going to try to do justice to them I ams. They hadn't seen the old house in over 20 years, but it looked exactly the same. Their fears renewed, they blundered straight ahead to see what harvest they would find within these halls of loss, of pain, of mournful memory, where evil like a cloak of silence falls. The elephant print remained a common theme, as walls were doused with hate and kerosene, and mixed amongst the animal prints and furs were memories with no priority, a flash across the mind, their pain to stir, as murder always does eventually. A retailer they'd been told their father'd been, as they confirmed this tale with foe or friend, and yet they knew the truth behind the lie, from customers not spotted o'er the years, while purchases extravagance flew by, like water in a river swift and clear. Combustible, the house soaked up the flow of kerosene and tears of hate and hope. By cleansing out the soul of this foul dorm, they hoped to put a ribbon on the past, while knowing not that all was not the norm, or that their thoughts of hate would be their last. He poured the last of powder on the keg they once had called a home. She touched his leg, reminding him that he was not alone. She struck the match and pulled her brother close to plant a single kiss upon his dome, a last ingredient, completed dose. Would knowing ever change the plotted course? Would sight have stopped the ending at its source? Some questions' answers stay in mystery. For them, the doors they entered now were closed, and locked inside with hate and kerosene, their hopes and fears were finally disposed.
Excellent. Well done.
Mm-hmm.
No notes on that reading. Well done.
What, my reading?
Yeah.
Oh my God, thank you.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, thank you. I enjoyed this a lot. It is so fun to read.
It is. Know? Yeah, it really is. And the narrative quality that you can get from iambic pentameter.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look at Shakespeare. I mean,
right.
You know.
Just look at him.
Just look at him.
Take a good long gander.
Hey, party. With all the ruffles.
Oh, he's so pretty.
With all them ruffles.
He's so pretty. Okay, so yeah, exactly. I like the narrative quality within the pentameter.
Yes. And iambic pentameter is so specific. It has this kind of lilting quality to it that really pushes the reader forward.
Yeah.
It pushes the meter inherently wants you to move through the line in a way that feels kind of natural, kind of like walking. Well, I guess iams are also known as feet or foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are feet.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I like the way you said lilting.
Yeah.
Because I do find it lilting. I really like, my favorite lines in this poem are where a sentence ends and begins within one line.
Really?
I really like those.
Those are usually the ones that strain me the most while reading, are the ones where the sentence breaks in the middle. Can you explain why you like that so much?
Let me try to figure out why I like that so much. Okay, so I realized that whenever I read, he poured the last of powder on the keg they once had called a home. She touched his leg. I don't know. Maybe it's just I just feel like it takes some skill to break up a sentence like that, and still make it like cohesive.
Yeah.
It's like it is within this one line in the meter, but the two different parts of the sentence. Okay, so like one sentence stretches over, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, across the format, across the meter.
Right.
So you have, it allows for the natural way that we would speak.
Yeah, I feel like
yeah,
exactly.
Format.
I feel like it allows for, it's more cohesive.
Yeah.
It like connects the lines together and you can't break them apart.
Yeah, and also that particular line that you read, I like that, like it sticks in, like the rhyming and everything obviously lines up, but the rhyme doesn't fall at the end of a sentence, so it allows you you can place emphasis on a different part of the sentence,
right,
where otherwise you may have been stuck with
placing emphasis on the end or the beginning of the sentence.
Right. So you can put emphasis on the middle somewhere.
That's true.
Yeah. So, and actually that was a perfect example because that was really well handled.
Yeah.
And I imagine that would be a part that I would spend a lot of time just trying to figure out how to make that work.
Right.
Try to make it sound natural and stick within the format, within the meter.
Yeah. I almost feel like whenever, I feel like somehow doing that, breaking up a sentence in a line makes it seem, well, you said more natural. Yeah, it makes it seem less contrived. So
yeah.
It's like if you're trying to make your whole entire thought fit inside of one line, then you might have to do some like literary acrobatics to get it in there to the point that it might be some type of like abomination.
Right.
You know?
And to that end, it seems fairly consistent. I didn't check this all the way through the entire poem, but I think we have 6-line stanzas. But I actually really like that it's not broken up into stanzas.
Yeah.
I like that it's just straight down, straight through.
Yeah.
Keeps you moving all the way through it. It's in poetry, whenever I see a stanza, I think brand new thought and just start something new. And this all really does cohere with what came before it. So
it really does.
Yeah.
Big fan. Okay, so one note. You know what? This could just be me. But to me, it was just perfect until the word dome.
Yeah.
I was like, dome to me is like funny. It's
to
like
call somebody's head a dome.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like a funny and like, not like, it's all like lovely.
It's kind of like caricature-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it suddenly, because you're all feeling it, you're like, yes, oh my God, beautiful. And then you're like, oh, I'm trying to think of an analogy.
Perhaps it's like the whole poem is written in, Helvetic or Times New Roman, but then like you get to dome and it's Comic Sans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, that's a really good analogy.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like putting it's a silly word.
In that context. Yeah.
In that context as a head, it's a silly word, and just tossing a silly word in there, I don't think it's worth it for the rhyming.
For the rhyming scheme.
No, I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, it does kind of pull me out of the flow of it all. I'm just like, oh, dumb.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, I could say the same about dorm, weirdly enough. But not nearly as much as dome, because dome really lifts you
right
out of it.
I can see that.
Although it is a kind of modern context to use the word dome that way, so you just chalk it up to its, of its time.
Yeah.
So, on another note, there's a line, and mixed amongst the animal prints and furs, this line were memories with no priority. That didn't fit the meter for me. Like
Wait,
the whole.
I'm sorry, which part?
It's toward. Let me see. 1, 2, 3. The 10th line. Were memories with no priority. That didn't fit the meter in a way. So because it's too short to fit the meter, I feel like you can dress that up to a way to make it fit the meter in a better way. I could see how you arrived at the thought that it does fit the meter. Were memories with no priority. Like I can see how you would think it would fit the meter
eventually.
Yeah. So were memories with no priority, but that's not how you would read that line naturally. Were memories with no priority. So there are 3 I ams in there, I would say, because memories is one accent on its own. You can't do memories. Otherwise it becomes too sing-songy.
Yeah.
And that was the only one that really jumped out to me. And I really liked as halls were doused with hate and kerosene.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah.
And again, that doesn't exactly fit the meter. Like the "een" at the end of kerosene doesn't naturally read that way, but because it's at the end of the line, I think it works perfectly. Yeah. Because you want to lend weight to the end of the line anyways. So I thought that was beautifully written.
Yeah, totally. And honestly, like the parts that are a little bit not parallel, like the parts that don't perfectly fit the meter, I feel like that adds naturalness to it, because if it all fit perfectly, it would be like, okay, for me, I would just be like, all right, that's enough.
And it would ultimately probably suffer for it, just because you're trying to hold to such close scrutiny to the meter.
It's like those really dumb songs, which the singer is like, the singer's like, I am going to make this rhyme in the exact right meter. And the words are just
awful.
Oh, absurd. Ugh. I feel like Katy Perry does that a lot.
Yeah, I think a lot of artists are guilty of that for sure, using some word to make a rhyming scheme or something work. Yeah, and it's like, oh.
Oh, yeah.
Weirdly enough, I can think of a Queens of the Stone Age song that does that. Oh, what is it? Oh, it doesn't matter. But they say wherever I are instead of wherever I am to make R fit the rhyming scheme. And I was like, I don't like it. So
stop.
Anyway.
Okay, wait. I have to tell you this one example. Okay, I really have to.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was Dark Horse. Sorry, it's Dark Horse. Okay, here we go. All right. So, I mean, Katy Perry herself does this a lot. All right.
Okay.
But in this one song, Dark Horse, this guy is rapping and he's like, she's a beast. I call her Karma. She eat your heart out like Jeffrey Dahmer. Be careful. Try not to lead her on. Shorty heart is on steroids because her love is so strong.
No, I do not abide that.
No, I despise
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yes.
It's like Dharma.
Yes.
No.
But the worst part is Shorty heart is on steroids because her love is so strong. Okay, first of all,
I wish you could see just how stressed and troubled she is.
I am so this harshes my mellow. This anything harshes my mellow, it is this. Oh my God. She can be my sleeping beauty. I'm gonna put her in a coma. Damn, I think I love her. Shorty so bad, I'm sprung and I don't care. She ride me like a roller coaster, turn the bedroom into a fair. Wow.
That's just bad writing.
Oh, it's bad.
That's bad.
And I remember I never really was a fan of Katy Perry, but whenever I heard that when that song came out and I heard that rap, I lost all respect. I was like, how could she ever let those lyrics into her song?
Just like that, I guess. Yeah. Anyway,
that's an example of how trying to fit everything into a meter can go horribly, horribly awry.
Yeah. No, and I don't think that Walker's poem here really suffers from that at all.
No.
If anything, you really do make the language natural.
Oh, yeah.
And where it fits the meter, great. Where it doesn't, I'm just going to let it be natural.
Yeah, totally.
And it really works that way. It reads very cleanly. And as far as the story of this, they're burning down a house.
Yeah.
But they get trapped inside.
Right.
So, and just using the poetry to explain all of like their motivations behind why they're wanting to do this, I think is a great way to approach this.
I quite enjoyed it.
I did too.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thank you, Walker by Faith, for Hate and Kerosene. It really is beautifully written.
Very beautifully.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. And up next, we have Grandmother Said.
By the Prismatics 19.
Yeah.
Yay. Yeah. Oh, dang. This one was intense.
This was intense, yeah.
Yeah.
But it feels very cathartic. You get so much catharsis at the end of this, especially once you realize why these brothers are doing this.
Yeah, or why that one brother.
Oh, that one brother, yes. Specifically his catharsis, yeah. But
yeah, it's very like, I don't know. I guess I was just struck by the creativeness of it, and he said that the Prismatic said that he didn't plan for there to be dancing, but that it just kind of happened as he was writing. And
it worked beautifully.
Yeah, totally.
That's such a stark image that you give the reader by having Seth dancing naked in front of this house that has caused him so much torment.
Right.
And just start that sort of healing process. Just very powerful. I say I have no notes for this.
Yeah.
This works wonderfully as a short story too. And breaking it up into two parts where it's Seth and Steven together and then Seth alone.
Yeah.
I think that is great to delineate those two sides of this story away from each other. And just the brevity of part 2 and the way that you use this anaphora of she said the same thing when. She said the same thing when. It just works so well to show how much trauma grandmother caused to Seth. It's very, very effective.
Yeah.
And I love the way that it ends. The last paragraph, Seth danced naked in front of the burning house, weeping tears of joy and dancing a dance of jubilation. Yeah. He had already begun the process of forgetting the hateful woman who had tortured him into greatness for 11 years and had tortured his heart since he met her. Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful way to leave us. I think this one, I hate picking favorites, but my God, Prismatics, this is a wonderful story. This might be my favorite this week. Just so
poignant,
so effective. All the descriptions are right there, and you get us two very clear characters here with grandmother in the wings.
Yeah.
Very well done. Very well done.
Emma, oof.
She's a trip.
Yeah. But I also I did find it interesting, like the fact that he also got his he was tortured by his grandma, but he also got his livelihood kind of from his grandma.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
It is, because it's like he was a great dancer, soon to return to New York City and return to his ballet troupe. Like he wouldn't be doing that if it weren't for his grandma.
Right, yeah.
But was it worth it? I don't think so.
Indeed, was it worth it?
Yeah.
And only time can tell for Seth whether or not whether what she did to him was in fact worth it. Because you're exactly right. Without his grandmother having done what she did, would he have ever gone on to the success that he has now?
Yeah, and it says, at the very end, he had already begun the process of forgetting the hateful woman who had tortured him into greatness.
Yes. Yeah. I have one note onto the side. It says, cruelty is no way for a boy to learn, although it is often used to inspire greatness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually had a professor who was not all that, well, obviously not nearly to the degree of grandmother in this story, but would use cruelty in order to try and promote greatness within somebody.
Yeah.
And it was very harsh. And it did have an effect.
Yeah.
But now I loathe what that professor was teaching me. Like I hate everything about that because of the cruelty that was behind it.
Yeah. And so it wasn't worth it for you.
It was not worth it. And ultimately I lost what it was that it meant to me. And every time I even think about going back to it, it's just not, I just don't want it. I just don't want to do it.
Wow.
So, but that professor would tell me, you were never meant to do it in the first place then. It never meant enough to you.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
Yeah, it is a double-edged sword. I'll say that. So.
Totally.
But yeah, it's a very compelling story.
Yes.
And it leaves the reader with a lot of complex emotions.
Yeah. So that kind of treatment can definitely affect people in very different ways.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, you can't just assume that being cruel to somebody in order to strive them to greatness is going to have the effect that you want.
Right.
Odds are it probably will have exactly the opposite effect.
Yeah.
In my experience, no, it does not have this effect, but it can.
Yeah.
It absolutely can.
Totally. It's an old school, a very old school methodology.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Very good story.
And I like that there's a happy ending.
Yes. Yeah. The catharsis, you really do get that out of it. Yeah.
Totally.
Well, hey, thanks to Prismatics 19.
Yes, thank you. That was excellent.
Excellent.
And baby, now we got bad blood. You know we used to be mad. I'm not a Swiftie either. That's just in my head.
Okay.
Well, I think it's in my head because I was talking about Katy Perry. And you know the beef between Taylor Swift and Katy Perry, right?
No. No.
Okay. I don't know. That's just what I heard way back when that song came out, but whatever.
Okay.
Hey, it's not my fault that it popped into my head. Apologize. So, let's move on to our next story.
Okay.
Which is The Murder House by Steve Living Room.
Steve,
come on down.
So, continuing in our theme of, burning houses down.
Yeah.
Got a lot of arsonists
out here.
Seriously,
that was crazy.
And what's more is we're not done with that theme yet. There's more to come.
Oh, yeah. Didn't almost everybody wrote about that.
Everybody but Nick Yu and Nathaniel McLean wrote about burning down a house.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting that everybody kind of landed on that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I genuinely thought whenever I put that intro line out for this week, I thought it would be more wholesome.
Yeah.
Because I figured it'd be like about home.
Coming home.
Yeah, coming home and seeing, because, it gives the impression that it's been kept up. It looks exactly the same 20 years later,
Yeah.
Just sparking I guess it does spark memories, which can be both good and traumatic.
Right.
Anyway, so here with The Murder House, what did you think?
Okay, so it was very action-packed and fast-moving, there were a lot of parts that I really liked. I liked the juxtaposition of stunned silence behind him, hate and evil ahead.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, kind of a Janice moment. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was just, I was shocked whenever I read the part about, oh, yeah, remember what happened to Jill? She erupted into flames. It was kind of like... well,
it's rather abrupt.
And kind of like as an aside.
It's like, oh, yeah, you remember Jill?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she burst into flames. Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that because that whole paragraph where they're... Dave... Yeah, because Dave's the one telling this kind of reminiscing on what happened before.
Yeah.
Yeah, this house is weird. It has some sort of force field surrounding it where you throw a Molotov cocktail and it's like, nope, yeets it back at you and you're in flames. And Jack was hit in the head and died instantly.
Good for Jack.
Yeah, Jack went way easier than Jill.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody did ask, I can't remember, I think it was Richie.
Oh, yeah, if the Jack and
Jill theme. Yeah. I read that and I was like, oh, man.
Yeah. But then Steve was like, oh, no, I didn't even realize that till you mentioned it.
Honestly, I'm trying to figure out clever ways that you can use that.
Right.
I love Richie's Jack and Jill went up the hill to murder a house or something.
Something like that.
Or to burn a murder house. Yeah.
And then I kind of want to know what Jim did to kill the house.
It sounds like the fact that it exploded.
Yeah.
Almost sounds like he had a bomb strapped to himself and ran inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a suicide mission.
Yeah. Then what the hell do you propose? Sue asks. Sacrifice. So clearly Jim went into this knowing exactly what was going to happen because he's just immediately following that. I love you all, Jim says, looks them all in the eyes, smiled, tragic and beautiful, lingers just a bit on Sue, turns away and walks towards the Black House.
Yeah.
Which, Steve, is this in reference to The Black House by Peter Straub and Stephen King, which is the sequel to The Talisman. But Black House is a fascinating story. Just the setting of the Black House itself is really, really cool, and it actually kind of reminds me of what Steve has done here with this murder house. I read Black House and I thought that might be a little nod, a little wink. But yeah.
Wouldn't that be creepy though if you saw a black house? There's a house close to mine which is very, very dark brown or gray, and it almost looks black, but I've never seen an actual black house.
Funny you should mention it. There's a neighborhood that I work in, where I worked in for my company, that there is a house in this neighborhood that's like all black. I say black, it's like a very dark brown.
Wow.
So
are the people who live in it evil?
It looks like a beautiful house. Honestly, the house looks nice.
Yeah.
But I don't know the people who live there. I've driven by it, and some of my other customers say it's like, oh, did you see that hideous house up the road? And I just want to tell them, I was like, actually, it looks kind of nice. I'll be honest. Like that looks like a pretty nice house. I like the dark, earthy tones of it. Yeah.
Okay.
So it actually it looks cool, but they're trying to find them via their HOA. So because their house basically looks all black.
Oh dang! I'd be scared to meet somebody who lives in a black house.
I guess I can go knock on their door next time there.
I would like that.
Okay.
Please do that. I'm like wondering if there's if there's any like go to the door with a garlic necklace just to be on the safe side.
Okay.
I wonder if there's any culture where black houses is the norm. If there is, I don't know about it.
Yeah, especially where we live, having a house that absorbs heat in the summer sounds like a horrible idea.
Yeah, but even in Mongolia, where it's extremely cold, like the traditional housing is all white. The yurt. Yeah.
Seems like a kind of missed opportunity.
I don't know. I feel like they wouldn't be into that because they're super like superstitious.
Yeah, maybe.
I feel like they would think that was evil. Anyway, I like the personification of the house.
Yeah, it clearly has motives of its own, just based on the way that it reacts to, throwing a Molotov cocktail and whatever Jack did to get hit in the head and die instantly.
Oh, yeah. But then it's like the house is leering at them. Jim is yanked into the house by unseen hands.
Yeah.
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 I wonder if that's the house's hands or if there's some spirit inside the house. Is the evil thing the house itself?
Ooh.
Or is it something dwelling in the house?
Dwelling within the house.
Within.
Have you read House of Leaves? You have my copy of House of Leaves.
Yes, I read part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anybody who's interested in like a really weird haunted house story, heavy air quotes, check out House of Leaves. That is a wild trip.
Yeah. That's a very wild trip.
That's one of the absolute weirdest things I've ever read, and I love it.
Yeah.
I love House of Leaves. Such a cool story.
It takes a lot of talent to write something that weird.
And you're exactly right. A lot of talent to write, because there's so many weird layers to it. It's like you begin with this story and then it's, we're actually going to read about this story that this guy finds in this crate. And then that story itself is super crazy because it's from a videographer. Yeah.
I remember that part.
It's bizarre. The whole premise of the story is bizarre.
Yeah. The ability to not fall into like a precedent of literature is pretty impressive.
I do think you can cast it into the horror genre pretty successfully, but it's also
a genre, but it's not like anything else.
No, yeah, it is.
I think the ability to come up with something at this, whenever it was written, that is not like anything else that's preceded it is pretty impressive.
Yeah, completely novel.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a that's a challenge to you guys. If you want to go check out House of Leaves, please do.
Right.
Such a cool book. But anyway, that's the motivations of the house itself. That's what led me to that connection.
Yeah. I didn't really know what was going on at the end with the box and the button.
Yeah. It doesn't get set up anywhere prior to the very ending. So we just have a button box. A box with a button on it.
Like and unlike the story they read as kids. Is there a story about that?
If there is, I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, I'm not either.
Yeah, and if that's where we're leaving the story, either we're setting up to learn about that moving forward, or Steve just didn't have the time to set it up beforehand, And at the end, it's like, oh, that's what I wanted to do, and just didn't have a chance to set it up for us in this story. So
possible.
But yeah, I read that, and I actually went back and scanned the story. I was like, did I miss the button? No, I didn't. What else you got?
That's all I got for that story. It was a wild ride.
It was a wild ride. And just for your clarification, Steve, we switch from the past tense to the present tense between our first priority is to make sure we get out alive, Dave whined. And then in the next line, Jim states. And we're in the present tense from then on out. So just so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. That was a fun read.
And up next, A Ritual Burning by Richie Posher.
Richie Posher.
Our fourth arson story.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Oh.
So this one is moving us through a lot of history.
Yeah.
To get to this, the catharsis at the end. But yeah, interesting how this is the theme of burning down a house is the catharsis that is gained from it. Yeah.
I feel like we should all get together and go burn down a house. Because I feel like that's what our readers want to do.
I mean, the majority, seems like old house looks the same, burn it down.
Right. Okay, so in this story, that was pretty gruesome, the part about what they did to Jenkins.
Brutal. Gruesome.
Well, sounds like he deserved it.
Yeah, and I was curious because it mentioned that he had run one of the more brutal operations in the area, and the mob hadn't forgotten what he fancied. I would be curious to know what his operation is. Obviously, it's 30 minutes, and obviously we have a lot of ground to cover at this point when Richie's writing, so I'd be curious to know, even just briefly, what Jenkins's operation was. Because it's a plantation, do you think it's just...
I think it's just a plantation.
Just running a plantation.
With slaves.
Okay.
It's what he did to his slaves.
That's what I was thinking. I think it could help to just make it a little bit more textually clear. Yeah. Because I was curious, but... Yeah,
the word operation was a little bit weird. That kind of like threw me off, but I was like, pretty sure he was a slave owner at a plantation. And also I think the year is interesting there, 1861, because I guess it was the slaves who ended up killing him.
That's what I assumed.
What I assumed. And that was 2 years before the Emancipation Proclamation. But I would assume, not knowing a ton of history about that there was already uprisings and discontent stirring because the Civil War had already started.
This that would be during the Civil War?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the Emancipation Proclamation was the end of the Civil War, and that was 1863.
Yes. Yeah. So that certainly was during the American Civil War.
So I guess everyone's kind of
began in 1861.
Okay, yeah. So, so that makes sense because everything was kind of like probably chaotic and,
Yeah, so maybe like the beginning, like you could call it an inciting incident to the Civil War.
Yeah.
Possibly. But similarly, I don't have a ton of history to draw on from Civil War era.
Yeah, but that I really like that story. I think probably that story is my favorite part. That era is my favorite part of the story.
Of this story.
Yes.
Yeah. And it is so effectively described that as I was reading it, I was literally like grimacing and cringing. It's like, oh God.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very Django Unchained.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. It's a revenge fantasy.
Which is perfect inspiration for a story like this.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it works. It does exactly what I think you want it to, just how graphic and brutal and even just simply gory the thing is. Oh
shit. Yeah, my favorite, I feel like the most evocative part for me was where it says they got a pair of rusty scissors and popped off his big toes.
Oh God. And I figured that what preceded it was going to be the worst. And it's like, nope, we're not done yet.
Yeah.
Oh, and he's not flayed yet.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to show you that. I'm just going to show you that his body in the moonlight flayed.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
That's real bad. Sounds like Jenkins reaped what he sowed.
Which, I'll be honest, just based around the one line that he ran one of the more brutal operations, and then we get this much description as far as what was done to him. There's two ways that the reader can take it. The first time that I read it, I had a hard time seeing how he deserved this.
Really?
Because it wasn't clear what he had done. And so, like, it was a brutal operation. But at the same time, we're allowed to infer what Jenkins did based on what was done to him as well.
Yeah.
And on a reread, that's more the way that I took it. And I was like, oh, okay, so he's real scum. But it is called out that this is basically like a taste of his own medicine. I can't find the exact line.
He literally says, as he had been known to do.
Yes.
When someone fell off line. And then at the end of that paragraph, as justice for how he kept the women from running away more than once.
Yes.
So we know from that he did that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess slaves. On my first read, I had a hard time reconciling. It's like, how could anybody deserve this? It's like, oh, because he did this.
To a lot of people.
To other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
And it was pretty impressive that he did not ever display remorse.
Yeah. Just, what was it? Vitriol. Yeah. Vitriolic hate. Yeah.
And that kind of reminded me of on Inglorious Bastards, when the bear Jew is coming after that one guy, and the whole time he's just he's like vitriolic hatred.
Yeah,
he never shows remorse, even though knowing what's about to happen to him.
The German that he's about to beat to death. Yeah. That's our second Tarantino reference to this story.
Well, I feel like that kind of makes sense because that part at least is, the whole thing is a revenge fantasy.
Yeah.
And Tarantino, I think, does a lot of revenge fantasies.
Yeah, and foot stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. So what did you think of the line that he left in blood over the door? Better dead than bred.
Yeah, I didn't know what that meant.
That felt non sequitur-ish. But I feel like we're, as the reader, intended to try and infer something from that.
Yeah.
And I can't figure out what it is, though. I'm trying to infer something.
Okay, so I have a guess. I don't know. But maybe the evil spirit of Jenkins possessed the dad. Because I think that, I don't know, but I believe that the family who moved in there is black. And I only believe that because of the name Emmett. That's a really bad guess. Because I know that there's Emmets that are not black. But better dead than bred. I feel like the spirit of Jenkins could have possessed the dad, and that the dad killed the family so that they couldn't have more kids or something, like killed his own family.
Yeah. Yeah, I figured it was some sort of racist tirade of some kind. I just couldn't quite figure it out. And I'm with you that the ghost of Jenkins inhabited the dad. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. But then we move beyond that to the point where they're going to burn down a house.
Yeah.
And how are they going to do it? With a red canister of gasoline and a 6-pack of High Life.
Right?
That's a fucking party.
That's pretty heavy metal.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was interested that the dad was like, oh yeah, you kids go right ahead.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
He's like,
we're going to commit arson real quick.
Yeah.
You guys want to come?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, where does this? Oh, Dad caught me with a gas can. He said, as long as no one gets hurt, you don't know a thing. Wow. That's a very permissive dad.
Yeah. And I don't know. We don't have all the details as far as, who actually owns this house.
Right.
And if you own a house and you burn it down and tell people that you burned it down, are you still committing arson. Like, I'm not going to file my insurance for it. I'm just going to burn this house down real quick. Like, that's still a crime, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
surely.
I think so.
But it's mine. Can I burn it down?
That's a good question.
I don't know.
What happened?
Because I sort of assumed that Emmett inherited the house. So it's his. So like, I'm going to burn it down now.
Yeah.
You guys want to come watch?
Yeah, I don't know. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
I need to consult my lawyer, my attorney.
Okay. Okay.
JK, guys, I don't have an attorney.
But the ending felt pretty abrupt.
Yeah.
And I didn't get quite the sense of catharsis that I think this story could have. Because we're not getting so much of how Emmett feels at this point.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like this group effort to come together and see it done. But the meaning behind it is a little lost.
Yeah, that's true. I think that there could have been more like details about the catharsis, just even by showing, like you always say, like show don't tell.
Yeah.
Even by showing Emmett like doing stuff or like feeling a certain way or whatever.
Yeah, or just what he's doing in this moment, like how is he acting, how is he behaving?
And I kind of thought, I was afraid that something bad was going to happen to the kids. I feel like somebody else said that too, maybe. Yeah,
and it's a good point because of the way we just get these dashes, and then off in the distance, a column of smoke rose. What remained of Declan Street? Of what remained of Declan Street? That kind of implies that at Peter and Anna's house may also be burned down now.
Yeah.
Of what remained of the street.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it did leave this kind of like, kind of quality.
Right? It's like, wait, did they burn down the whole street? And then honestly, the part that I really thought shit was going to go to hell was whenever it's talking about Anne, she closed her hand around it tightly before wiping her eyes with the sleeve of her sweater. I was like, oh no. She's going to like get possessed by Jenkins and like set herself on fire or something.
Oh no.
I thought something like that was going to happen, but it didn't.
Or at least that we know of. Because it doesn't end really abruptly. Like we get out of that scene very quickly. So
and maybe there's going to be a continuation.
This one could stand it, I think. Because we spent so much time setting up the circumstance, the setting, the history. Yeah, I think that this is something that would benefit from just more words on the page.
And maybe that's what was intended. You know, that we think everything went according to plan, but he never says that. Emmett carried the gas can in his left hand and cracked open a beer and kicked the door open. But then we don't know.
No.
You know, what happened.
Yeah, we get then the boys were in. And then who knows? Who knows? So yeah, that's a big old question mark where on a initial read you're thinking it's like, well, the house is burned down now. It's all as well. But really,
but maybe not.
Maybe not.
This could be a good twist.
Could be.
Yeah.
Very well could be. Well, hey, thanks, Richie.
Thanks, Richie. That was great.
Yeah. And up next, we have The White Picket Fence by Nick to You.
Hey, Nick to You. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome back.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome back. Welcome back. Okay, so what'd you think about this?
Well, it gave me it reminded me, I think this was Nick to You's story, but you remember our racist ghost and the ghost hunter?
Yes.
I think that was Nick to You's story, wasn't it?
Okay, I don't remember.
I feel like it was. Made me think that this could be in the same world, could be the same ghost hunter even.
Yes.
It just struck a lot of similar chords in me that one did.
Yeah, I can see that. Because this person is a ghost hunter.
Yeah, and I really do like the way that this was set up with them explaining how bad murder-suicides are as ghosts go.
Oh, yeah.
And how they can be ornery, I believe is the word. Yeah, yes. They tended to be ornery. I just thought that was fascinating that you can put a quality to a ghost just by the way that they died.
Yeah.
And murder-suicide is a pair of ghosts. So that's very interesting. So
that is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
On a editing note, I feel like you could benefit from using less commas. There are things that I feel like would flow better if you use less commas. So for example, I'd done murders and suicides aplenty, each with their own problems, but only 2 murder-suicides before, and based on those, they tended to be ornery. Okay, so for example, you could take away the comma before they tended to be ornery. That's one comma that you could take away. And I feel like it would flow better. And based on those, they tended to be ornery. That's just too many commas.
So, is the comma between those and they tended to be ornery? Mm-hmm. Like that's like there's no grammatical reason to have a comma there, or is there?
Well, there is,
but you don't need it.
No, okay. Not in like creative literature,
right? You know? Yeah,
and it's just when you're reading and you're like in the flow of the thought, and then it's like you're pausing at every comma. I done murders and suicides aplenty, each with their own problems, but only 2 murder-suicides before. And based on those, they tended to be ornery. Yeah. You know? There were several spots throughout that I was like, I think that you need less commas.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'd done murders and suicides aplenty, each with their own problems, but only 2 murder-suicides before, and based on those, they tended to be ornery. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does kind of break the sentence up. I'm torn. I'm torn on how I feel about that.
Okay, but another example is the next paragraph. It was unlikely they'd be able to kill me, but it might mess up the house, which would rather defeat the point of exercising it. I feel like you could take the comma off before but. It was unlikely they'd be able to kill me, but it might mess up the house, which would rather defeat the point of exercising it. And the next paragraph, I took a deep breath and picked up my bag. I feel like, well, you definitely do not need that comma before
that's a comma splice, I think.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's just an unnecessary comma.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because a comma splice would be if you break up a compound sentence with just a comma and not the word and or but, or no conjunction.
Okay.
Yeah, but
okay.
I took a deep breath and picked up my bag. That goes together, like as one thought group. And so I feel like you don't need a comma there. And even in the next part, I stepped from the sidewalk onto the property and I felt the chill of the wind.
Yeah, rather than and I felt, just and felt the chill of the wind. Yeah.
Yeah, like take away the word I, take away the comma. I feel like the comma makes it a bit stilted. The commas make it a bit stilted.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Now that you pointed out, I can see that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just a close eye on the structure of your sentence, mm-hmm. like the grammar of your sentence, you can make the sentence flow from start to finish more mm-hmm. effectively.
Yeah. And even the next paragraph. I unlocked the door and stepped inside to a lit living room. You don't need the comma there.
Yes. Yeah, that one for sure.
I had a clear view to the kitchen where a woman was pulling a pie out of the oven. You don't need a comma there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. It is quite a few extra commas.
Mm-hmm. And the next paragraph, you'll like this, the woman said. There was harvest back home, and my parents gave me the pick of the pumpkin patch. I feel like what you could say is, you'll like this, the woman said. My parents gave me the pick of the pumpkin harvest back home.
Yeah.
And you don't even need any commas. My parents gave me the pick of the pumpkin harvest back home.
Yeah.
Pick of the pumpkin. Parents gave me the pick of the pumpkin harvest. Parents gave me the pick of Peter Piper picked a peck of pumpkin peppers.
Peter Pepper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
Pumpkin peppers.
Pumpkin peppers. Oh, yeah. Peter Pepper picked a peck of pumpkin peppers.
Pecked a pick of pumpkin peppers.
No, now that you pointed out, yes, I agree. The commas could certainly do with some reining in, just reel them back a little bit.
The commas are running this show. The commas are running rampant. I just imagined like a herd of commas like stampeding.
What would you call a herd of commas?
I mean, a terror.
A terror of commas?
Yeah.
I was going to call them a community of commas.
Oh.
I was thinking community. Yeah, community.
A compound?
A compound of commas.
Yeah. A Kama Sutra of commas?
Oh, no. Not that
one. Well, actually, we used to have this shirt in grammar club.
Of course you had that.
Kama Sutra. It said Kama Sutra. And it was like Kama COMMA Sutra. And it had 2 commas like doing 69, you know?
Oh my God.
It was hilarious.
That was pretty funny. For
a
grammar club? Wow.
Yes,
it's got some comedians.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Well, good for y'all.
Yeah.
So yeah, as far as the story, we get the setup with our character going in to exorcise these 2 ghosts, and then we get 2 ghosts. We get this woman and this man. What do you think of that part? Like the ghosts themselves and how like the interaction between our main character and these 2 ghosts.
Well, I thought that vanquishing them was very easy.
Yeah, it came across very simple, and I think Nick Chu even mentioned as much in the comments, like it felt too easy. So yeah. I would agree. It does feel a little easy. I understand it's probably just 30 minutes, and you probably have ideas already as far as how to complicate that better and make it feel more realistic, more natural to the characters.
I think, well, I did say this like several weeks ago, but I think that doing justice to each part is more important than rushing to the end.
Well, yeah. And I will offer a counterpoint. In 30 minutes, you've got a good framework for how to address the story as it sits now. So this is a story that I think from a rewrite, you've got a really cool premise.
Yeah.
I really like the idea of this exorcising 2 ghosts, one of which is this misogynistic bastard, and the other is this just wonderful, saintly like homemaker. I really kind of want to see the more complicated version of that exorcism.
Yeah, totally.
I think that's a very intriguing story that I'd be very interested to read. But yeah, as it sits now, it's a little hasty, but the framework is there, and yeah, I'd just be curious to see it in its more complicated form.
It's more developed form.
Yes.
I also wonder like what era these ghosts are in, simply because of where the dad says those are far too expensive. That to me sounded kind of like proper, you know? Because at first I was kind of imagining a guy like in a wife beater.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
And that's what I was imagining. But then whenever he said those are far too expensive, I changed my mental picture of what the ghosts look like. Because I thought he would say something like, "We ain't got the money for that," or something.
That also could just be geography differences. But you're right. I kind of got early 1900s to maybe at the latest kind of 1950s.
Yeah.
Era ghosts.
They might say something like that in like 1930.
Yeah. That's what 1900s to 1950s, kind of like somewhere in that range is best I could pin it down. But that brings up a good point. The language that they speak will clue us into kind of where they hail from in setting. Time. So pay attention to how your ghosts express themselves, and that can be some really interesting descriptions for your ghost characters.
Right. And I also thought it was really interesting, the thought or the idea breaking the pattern was how you ended ghosts.
Yes. Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
And I think that came up in the racist ghost story as well, like breaking the pattern. I think that's right.
So this is just another installment of that Ghost Hunter.
It could be. Yeah. It could be. And Nick Chu, I am so sorry if you didn't write that story, but I thought that you did, and I hadn't had a chance to go back and look it up. But anyway.
Well, we hope that you're the one who wrote that.
I think it was you.
It was him. Let's just say, it was him.
If you didn't, feel free to chastise me at length.
Yes. You can chastise me as well.
Sure. Yeah, actually, just chastise Rachel.
In Mongolian.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Nick Chu.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so now we are going to move on to Prism of Reality by Nathaniel McLean. Welcome back.
Welcome back, Nathaniel. It's been a minute.
It has. He just skipped out on Novelbember.
Yeah.
And I don't blame you.
Yeah, it's a lot of writing to write. A lot of writing. Write a novel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so I want to say that I love the ideas. What am I trying to say right now?
I wish you could see her face.
Content, the idea, the premise.
Yeah.
Behind this story.
Yeah.
I feel like there is so much that could be done with this.
Yeah.
Like, it's juicy content.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got something here you can just mine and mine and mine.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love the idea of the people who are not normal or intellectually challenged or something being the ones that are actually have an advantage in this situation.
And not just have an advantage, but could be basically saviors to everybody else.
Exactly. Yeah. I love that. The chosen ones. And I love the description of the normal person who the reason, where is it? I don't remember where it is, but the reason that they're dying or going crazy or whatever is because of their need to control everything. Yeah,
we as normal humans tend to try to control everything around us. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And no, to them, reality was already, talking about the chosen ones, already a matrix of ever-changing codes that they couldn't control. So they did the smartest thing no normal person would ever think of. They relinquished control, removed themselves from the thinking of society and norms. I just love that, angle.
It's a fascinating concept.
Yeah.
To be out of control is to be in control.
Yeah.
It's this really impossible juxtaposition.
Right.
In order to be in control of the situation, you must relinquish control.
Exactly.
So it's this dichotomy that you're always up against. And what that looks like from the perspective of somebody who is in this situation, one of these chosen ones, would be A, fascinating to read, and B, I think would be very difficult to write. You're walking this very fine line between being out of control and in charge of the situation at the same time. I imagine it would be, and I'm strictly speculating because I'm like you, the premise is so cool. I'm trying to wrap my head around what that would look like.
Well, I think that being out of control. Oh yeah, because actually everybody's out of control.
Yeah,
nobody has control.
Yeah,
but these people, the chosen ones, they know that they don't have control, so they are not at the mercy of their circumstances because they already know that they're out of control. And trying to control it and things not going how you planned it or wanted to control it is what causes a lot of our suffering.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And just the perspective of somebody in that situation, I think would be so cool for this story. And so much of this story is setting up the setting, the circumstance, the situation. We don't get a character until the last paragraph. We get our first character name of Arthur.
Yeah.
So this really, really feels like it's setting up something larger.
Right.
Which is awesome because, like we said, there's so much you can do with this as far as different angles that you can take it, especially whenever you're talking about having characters inside someone else's memories. There's so much that you can do just within that idea alone.
Yeah.
Not to mention the idea of having to relinquish control to be in charge of the situation. And the last line, love was their kryptonite. They couldn't handle the power of love. Chosen with the chosen ones, their love was in abundance. So there's so much opportunity for cool themes.
Yeah.
And interesting kind of one-off situations with diving into people's memories and things. There's just a lot of cool ideas that you can run with this.
Oh yeah, totally. And the part where it's like, instead of feeling fear or questioning his own belief, he changed the scenario to what he wanted it to be without even trying. He never had fear or self-doubt, just love in his heart and happiness in his mind. That reminds me of my nephew.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And he's just like, well, this is my reality, whatever. He's pretty much unperturbed by stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he has his own like world going on in his head.
Yeah.
And so I love that. So there are a lot of tense changes here. A lot.
Yeah.
Which are even confusing. Not even just as a grammar Nazi being like, no, but actually I'm just like, wait, where are we at in the story? Are we before it happened? Are we after it happened?
Yeah.
Are we during it happened? Like, what's happening? Tense changes like that can be very confusing to the reader. Mm-hmm. So it is gold. This premise, this idea of the intellectually challenged being the chosen ones who are actually at an advantage is gold. But if you take it as like, let's say it's a gold bar, okay? And then you wrap it up in some pretty tattered gift wrap. What I'm saying is...
known as tense changes.
The vessel in which you have presented us this gold mine needs some work.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that this is a fancy vintage of wine served in a solo cup.
There you go. That's great. Yeah.
Because you have a wonderful premise, a lot of very, very cool ideas.
Yeah.
And just getting that across in a way that is concise and clear.
Right.
Yeah.
In a way that's concise and clear and eloquent.
I want
and really hits home.
Just get it across in a way that is uniquely your own way.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But my main note is the tense changes.
Yeah, tense changes really are hard to deal with while you're reading it. Mm-hmm. So the way I always approach it is you pick one and that is it. Like the law is you are in past tense or you are in present tense, no matter what. Where it gets confusing is sometimes it could be when you're writing dialogue because your characters will always speak in the present tense unless they're telling a story, in which case it'll be past tense. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Tense changes are very difficult to read past and not get pulled out of the story. So just I would say make it a habit to make note of what tense you are in when you begin and just be sure to stick with it throughout. Yeah. Yeah,
just like you can do a quick like reread and fix any tense issues. I also like the way that it's like fear is their favorite. Fear was always dessert. And I'm like, that is so true. When I lost my mind, the main thing was fear. That was the thing that really like took over, you know?
Yeah. And it was at that point that I had this, it felt like this mashup of an energy vampire meets The Matrix meets War of the Worlds. Like you're combining a lot of interesting ideas from already interesting stories and how those all play out together would be very interesting.
Oh yeah. And I really like the description of the day of the mind meld. No one knew what was going on. Everyone's reality was shattered. We were awake, but in the purgatory of existence. Just the idea of having your reality ripped out from underneath you and the safe space was gone. That's scary.
It is scary.
And that's a very evocative description.
It really is. And it reminded, at that point, I was thinking, ooh, this is like Three Body Problem. Have you read Three Body Problem? There's actually a show on, I think it's Netflix, that's Three Body Problem. Oh, it's such a cool story. I love Three Body Problem. The book is wild.
Whoa.
So it's a Chinese author.
Okay.
Very cool. Very cool. Very heavy on science.
Interesting.
So it is certainly science fiction, but the idea of having your reality completely changed and challenged all at the same in the same day, at the same moment. It's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating story.
Dang.
So
that sounds troubling.
Yeah, if the characters are anything to go by, it is troubling. So
I'll read that when there's more space between me and my psychotic break.
You got one scheduled?
No, the one that happened.
Okay.
I need. It's a little too soon.
Too soon. A little raw still.
Yeah, a little raw.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, hey, good to see you, Nathaniel McLean, and look forward to seeing more from you.
Same. And well, I have to say, since Matt did play favorites, I have to say this is my favorite story this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. It gave me a whole lot of food for thought.
It is. You're right. It is a very engaging story.
Yeah.
It really makes you think.
Totally.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Well, okay. That is all of our stories for this week. So shout outs to Walker by Faith for being selected here today.
Woo!
And then we have the Prismatics 19, Steve Living Room, Richie Posier, Nick to you, and a hearty welcome back to Nathaniel McLean.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. And that moves us into episode 20.
What?
20!
20?
Yeah.
For our Christmas special.
Yeah. Yeah. So Rachel brings up a good point. Next week is Christmas.
Feliz Navidad. Do, 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 do.
Feliz Navidad. Feliz Navidad.
Prospero año y felicidad. That was a rousing rendition.
A rousing rendition of Feliz Navidad.
Yes.
So yeah, next week is Christmas. Mm-hmm. So we will not have an episode for next week since we record on Wednesday.
Right.
So that being Christmas, we're going to forego an episode next week.
Yeah, because we have families, okay?
Yeah, we got things to do.
Yeah.
Presents to get.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. You all get it. You understand.
Santa's to feed.
However, we will have an episode the following week, so that will be Friday, January 3rd.
Oh.
Will be our next episode.
Ooh la la.
So
ooh la la.
For episode 20, we ask you to write a story
from the perspective of an animal.
Ooh, yeah.
Could be any type of animal.
Any animal. And I actually wanted to even say just like a non-human perspective. And more specifically, a perspective that cannot speak for itself.
Mm-hmm. So it could be a vegetable or mineral as well? Is that what you're saying?
I think so, honestly. Okay. I that would be more challenging than an animal perspective, in my opinion. But I would say a perspective of something that cannot speak for itself. But animal perspective is just as good. Did I just rain on your parade? Are you okay? No. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
I love animals, and that's why I wanted to do an animal-sode.
Some of my favorite chapters and stories are from perspectives of animals.
Yay.
They're absolutely wonderful. And there's a whole series of stories from the perspective of animals, entirely, only perspective of animals. And it is called...
Animal Farm.
No. I mean, yes, but no.
Okay.
I have to look it up. I'm sorry.
While you're looking it up, I used to read these series of books, which were all from the perspective of cats, like sorcerer cats. Yeah,
that sounds dope.
It was.
Oh, Hollow Kingdom.
Oh,
Hollow Kingdom. It's told from the perspective of a crow.
Oh,
who is essentially a pet to a man. Who also has a bloodhound.
Oh.
And then zombie apocalypse happens.
Okay. Yeah.
It's pretty rad.
Sounds rad.
Yeah, you should check out Hollow Kingdom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hollow Kingdom.
The crow's name is Shit Turd.
Oh, yeah, you told me about that.
He goes by ST.
You told me about that. That's funny. Shit. And it doesn't even know that sounds weird.
Well, like, and the longer you sit there and read it, you're like, oh yeah, shit turd.
Yeah.
Oh,
and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
What's up, shit turd?
Yeah, it's not.
It just becomes normal.
It really does.
Okay, Hollow Kingdom. Making note of that.
So yeah, if you want some inspiration as far as how animal perspectives are handled, You could do worse than Hollow Kingdom. Stephen King is known to do this, but very sparingly. He'll just drop in, a little bit here, a little bit there. Almost always, I think, exclusively from the perspective of a dog.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm thinking of Big Steve in The Stand, also known as Kojak.
Kojak.
Love Kojak.
I remember Kojak.
And Under the Dome, from the perspective of a corgi.
Oh.
So cute.
Corgis in their thick booties. Am I right?
Ew.
Okay, but I was thinking of Chronicles of Narnia.
Also, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they can actually speak for themselves. Yeah.
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 Yeah, they talk.
Yeah. That you see, that's, I don't know.
So, okay, so, all right, I see what you're saying. Yeah, there's a difference there. Mm-hmm. These are animals that just have like inner dialogue.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's animal perspective. Run with that idea in whatever direction you want. It could be Chronicles of Narnia-esque.
Yeah.
In that the animals can, in fact, speak. But the words to go with this prompt are neglect, television, mayor, sample, and apply.
Interesting.
You got us a definition for neglect?
Yeah. Yeah, neglect. This can be a noun or a verb.
Yeah.
And it's whenever you
neglect something.
Yes. I think that it is pretty sure. I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm right. That it's from Latin, and lect means choose.
Choose?
Yes.
Lect.
Like election.
Like lecture?
Yeah. Well, yeah, probably. Yeah, that probably comes from it too.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right.
And in Spanish, choose is elegir. So neglect, it means choose. Neg is like not. So not choose, something like that.
Like, yeah, not choose
to take care
of.
Because
that's essentially what neglect is choosing to not do something.
Right. So, well, yeah, it's not taking care of something, which, by the way, that's one of my recurring nightmares, is that I've neglected something, and it is often a baby.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah. And what happens in my nightmares is that, oh my God, I'm a genius. What? Sorry, I just looked up the etymology to neglect.
This while talking about one of your worst nightmares. Oh my God, I'm a genius.
Okay, it does come from Latin. Neg is not, and lect is choose. Okay, so anyway, or disregard, and then it goes down to disregard eventually, and then whatever. In my nightmare, there's a baby, which I've had, and I don't know, I've been running around just living my best life. I don't know, maybe drunk, something. And like a year later, I'm like, oh shit.
I left the baby in the car.
No, because actually in all my nightmares, the baby is being raised by family members, but I haven't given it a name.
What a weird nightmare.
I know, but it is recurring. I have it a lot. And the other neglect nightmare I have is that it's suddenly finals time and I haven't gone to class all semester. And I'm like, oh shit. Oh my God, what am I gonna do?
You're not gonna do.
Yeah. No. It's like just not taking care of responsibilities, neglecting responsibilities. That is one of my biggest fears in life.
Huh.
Yeah.
What about television?
All right, television. So this actually, it's interesting because this word comes from Latin and Greek.
Okay.
Yeah. The prefix tele.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guess which one that is?
Tele?
Yeah.
Would be Greek.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And tele means afar, far away.
Yeah.
Or from afar.
From afar, yeah.
And vision, well, I think we all know what that means. So a television is seeing from afar.
Yeah.
So I can, for example, watch something that's happening in, say, New York City. even though I'm in Texas.
New York City.
New York City. Is that a reference to an old pecani?
Yeah, paste pecani sauce. Yeah, it is.
New York City. Yeah. You can see things from afar.
I imagine that there was a room full of marketing execs whenever they first invented the television. Mm-hmm. And like, what do we call this?
You think marketing execs invented the television? I think scientists.
No, the word television to describe the product that was invented by very capable scientists with cathode ray tubes and things like that. So how they landed on the word television, because surely there are other ways to convey the exact same idea of the word television.
Yeah.
Without using the word television.
Right.
So that being a relatively modern invention with a word that is very clearly, it's a real word, television.
Yeah.
What would you call a television if it were invented today?
I would call it something like a living box.
I want to, for whatever reason, put the word theater in there. And I can't figure it out.
Okay.
Maybe a teletheater.
Yeah.
Or a, what's another way to express like the prefix tele? What could you use in its place? Like from afar.
I don't know. But I will say that television can be a noun or an adjective.
Yeah, a television program.
Right.
Yeah. Or the actual TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a cool word because it works in, so far in my experience, it works in every language.
Yeah, because yeah.
Yeah. Because it just does.
Because it just is. Yeah. Do you think that's because it's a more modern word?
What?
The word television is more modern, therefore, like that was the word, and it just.
I do think that because I think I know that it's a borrowed word in a lot of languages. So, for example, I don't know who first invented the television. Where did they first invent that?
I believe it was America. I think it was.
I think it was too, but I didn't want to say that because I didn't want to sound ethnocentric.
San Franciscan.
Oh, of course. Wow, of course. It would be a Californian.
Farnsworth.
Okay.
What a terrible name.
All right. Okay.
Theo Farnsworth, 1927 U.S. inventor.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right. Well, yes. So since it was invented by an American where English is spoken, then it was borrowed by everybody else from that point. Because if it had been an ancient thing like, let's say tree that's been around for forever, then every language has their own word for that.
Yeah, because they were separate from, all these languages are separate from one another.
Right.
So they had to define this tree.
Yeah, exactly.
In their own terms, yeah.
Exactly. Like, I just imagine people sitting around like, all right, well, what are we going to call this?
Like, are there differing words for internet across languages?
Not that I know of.
See, and that's one of the things I'm most fascinated with about language is its development from, like the television. Yeah. Like from these types of inventions where we're reducing the space between cultures, between languages.
Yeah.
How much of language now overlaps with other languages that otherwise would have never overlapped in the past.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating.
It is so fascinating. And the same thing happens in other languages, of course, obviously, to English. Like, for example, the first thing that just came to mind is the word baklava. Okay?
Oh, yeah, baklava.
Baklava.
Love baklava.
Yeah. So obviously, that's not an English word, by the way, but now it is because we don't have a word for it. So sometimes my students from different language groups are like, what's the word for example, what's the word for falafel in English? I'm like, falafel.
Yeah.
That's not a naturally occurring thing in English.
Yeah. What's the word for souvenir? Oh, it's souvenir.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So a lot of words, we have a ton of borrowed words in English.
Oh, yeah.
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 And every language does. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just curious, like, where language in modern times, like, because it's always growing, always evolving, always changing, like, where they choose to be different from other languages and where they choose to be the same.
Well, where
like
they
those differentiations.
choose to be the same, because like historical linguists, whenever they're tracing languages and how they're connected, the way that you can find out if a language is connected is by very basic rudimentary words. That way you can find out if it's in the same language family. So basic rudimentary words like words for body parts, words for household items, words for nature things, words for animals that they have native in their place.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's how we know, for example, that Persian or Farsi is Indo-European. Because words like, for example, the word for leg in Persian is paw.
That's adorable.
I know. And obviously that's our word for animal leg. But so words like that, and then linguists like trace those words and see if there are commonalities. Hindi is also an Indo-European language.
Really?
Yup.
Wow.
India, Indo-European.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So anyway, that's how, and that's where those words come from. But then the borrowed words are words that were not originally in that place.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or it could be something like, because English, like 30% of English is from French.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really shows at times.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
But it's not the most basic words. The most basic words that, like, let's say a 2-year-old knows are Germanic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And interesting you mentioned the French overlap to English, because it seems like I come across more French origin words in the more complex words that are a part of the English language. Because they're not simple words like, souvenir. Like there's no other word to describe the word souvenir in English other than a souvenir.
Right.
So it seems like very specific things that French speakers came up with for a long time ago. And we're like, I don't know what else to call it. Just use the French word souvenir.
In that case, it's like the French and English is not just about like words for things that didn't already exist, because they did already, or a lot of them did already exist. But because of the Norman invasion, the ruling class was French. And so the language of the court and the language of like education and things like that, the fancy people spoke French. Yeah. So that actually came because of the ruling class being French.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Right.
Okay, mayor. Mayor. Do we have a definition for mayor?
Oh, mayor is an M-A-Y-O-R.
Yes, yeah.
A mayor is a boss of a town.
That's it. Mayor.
Mayor. And that, of course, is related to the word major.
Huh. I'd never made the connection, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, like Latin doesn't have a j, it has a y. So it's basically the same word.
Major and mayor.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Sample.
Sample. This is a bit of something, or it's a noun or a verb, or an adjective.
Sample bite.
Yeah. Sample size.
Sample size. I'm basically sample size.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a bit of something that represents the whole. I don't know.
Yeah, because it implies that this is a small portion of something larger. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, you can sample music?
That's another meaning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can you describe what that means to us?
You can take clips from a larger piece of music and with those clips turn it into a different piece of music. It's called found music in a lot of cases. And I say a lot of cases. It can be described as found music.
Oh. It's like Kanye with Gold Digger.
Sure. Also,
chicken and money.
If you're interested, check out the original samples that made up the Daft Punk song "One More Time."
Oh, one more time.
Yeah, the original song that they sampled all of that from is very different, obviously, than the song that Daft Punk came up with.
Cool.
And where they're sampling things from and how they're using it in their song, like, it's fascinating. Yeah. It's genuinely very fascinating.
Awesome.
But yeah, that happens all the time in modern music. A lot of samples. And lastly, apply.
Apply. Apply can only be a verb.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Apply. It can be like apply for a job, apply for school, apply for a program, or it can be to apply something to something.
Yeah. Apply yourself.
Yeah. You can apply yourself
to this task.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Or apply makeup.
Yes.
Apply
a decal.
Yeah. Apply.
It means nothing now.
Apply.
It's just noise now.
Apply. Apply. I don't know. I can't think of anything else.
No, I think it's just the verb apply.
Apply. One more time.
If you want to be like these wonderful writers and submit your story to You Write, head on over to our subreddit at reddit.com/r/youwritepod.
If you're unable to submit a story this week, don't worry. It's fine. You can help out by reading and commenting on other people's stories.
Also, each time you post a story, leave comments and the like on someone else's submission, you increase your chances of having your story read on the podcast.
You can also reach us at youwritepod@gmail.com.
Also known as youwritepod@gmail.com. If you like our show and, you want to buy us a coffee.
We could use some coffee.
I could use some coffee.
I could
Daft Punk some coffee.
Yes.
Maybe donate to our Patreon at patreon.com/youwrite.
Also known as patreon.com/youwrite.
Yeah, that one needs work.
If you are unable to donate, that's fine. Did I already say that?
Nope.
Oh, if you are unable to donate, that is fine. You can help us by sharing the podcast with other writers and non-writers alike.
Also, subscribe to the podcast. It could be on YouTube. We're there. It could be on Spotify. It could be Apple Podcasts. There's do you know how many podcast platforms there are? It's way more than I thought.
Oh.
You can subscribe to us on any of them.
Oh, wow. Really? As
far as I know.
How'd you do that?
Magic.
Dang. I don't even want to think about that. It sounds so hard. Also, be sure to leave us a rating and review in your podcatcher of choice.
Eventually, we will read another. Eventually review eventually.
Another eventual item.
And when that day comes, guys.
When and if that day comes.
It's going to be epic.
It is. Well, I mean, it did come twice.
Gross. Yes, we have 2 lovely reviews on Apple Podcasts,
and they're worth reading.
Yes, they are. So join the club.
Yeah,
leave us a review.
Yeah,
and
remember,
join
us
next
week
on
You
Write, a
podcast
where you write. See y'all next week.
Have a holly jolly Christmas. In case you didn't hear. Say hello to Buffalo and everyone that's near.